Hi, my name is Neil Kelleher. In this video I'd like to show you a couple of poses. The first pose is bound angle pose, and that's one you do with your feet together, like so. You can have your hands on the floor behind you. You could also be leaning against the wall. The second pose is a complement to bound angle and is actually wide leg seated forward bend, where you'll be bending forward at the hips. And one reason that I'm including these two poses together is because they are complements. And actually the main pose I wanted to focus on was bound angle, and a simple technique for opening your hips using bound angle. And this may be helpful if you can sit on the floor cross-legged, but you want to get a bit more comfortable sitting cross-legged. This may be suitable for you, or if you are interested in trying to open up your inner thighs. And when you do bound angle, say your knees are up close to your ears, this technique may be helpful. May also be helpful for wide leg forward bend as well. But anyway, let's enough talking. Let's get on with doing it. So put your feet together. If you have knee problems, general recommendation is to move the feet further away from the hips. But if that doesn't help your knees, you could always try bringing your feet closer together, bring your feet closer towards your hips. But assuming you don't have knee problems, the simple technique for this pose is to focus on the crease of the hips. So if you haven't got any clothes on, you can see a line that separates your inner thigh from your belly. And that's actually formed by a ligament called the inguinal ligament, and underneath that ligament you get the psoas iliacus passing from the lumbar spine and the inside of the hip bone to attach to the top of the inner thigh bone. And the focus in this exercise is very simple, to focus on feeling your inguinal ligaments. And you could do this one leg at a time if you wanted to. So say focusing on your right leg, assuming I'm mirroring you, try to open the inguinal ligament, open the hip crease. What you may get is some butt activation, or you may not. Some hip activation, part of the hip that is closer to the floor. So you can try to open the hip crease and then relax. There's an actual, and while your knee may be going down, the focus isn't on pressing your knee to the floor, simply focusing on the hip crease, opening it, and then relaxing. Open, relax, try to open, relax. And then you can do the same thing with this side. Open, relax, open, relax, open, relax. And I use the term open because the opposite would be closing the hip crease, but the opening is very much like a stretching sensation. It's a sensation you get, say, when you It's a sensation you get when you're in a deep stretch. But anyway, focusing on both legs. You could try sitting up nice and tall. If you need to, you could even lean back a little bit on your hands. But from there, try to open both hip creases, relax, open both hip creases, relax, open both hip creases, and then relax. Now, it may help, it may not. Thing to do is give it a try, see if it works for you. And if it does work for you and you like it, then what I'd suggest is also doing wide leg seated forward bend. You could do this with the knees slightly bent if you needed to, but here the action is the exact opposite. Instead of trying to open the hip creases, you're actually trying to close them. And the way that you close the hip creases, one way that you can close the hip creases is by tilting the pelvis forward. And if you are doing this one leg at a time, what you could do is try tilting forward, but also bending towards the side that you're focusing on. So say focusing on this hip crease, you could tilt forward, but also bend towards the hip crease a little bit. Try to get the sensation that you're closing it. And rather than just tilting the pelvis forward so that you passively close it, try to make it an active, like you're using muscle power to actually close it. So try to close the hip crease, relax. You may get some inner thigh activation or some muscle activation somewhere. Close the hip crease, relax. You may get a pull on the asic and or the pubic bone, maybe even the sitting bone. So close, and then relax and then do the other side, close. And what you could do is rotate the thighs in or out to see if you can get a more clearer closing sensation. Relax, close, relax, close, relax. And actually, you may find, if you allow this hip to lift, you may find that you can close it. You can close this side by allowing this hip to lift and actually bending to the side. So that's another option, assuming you can get your legs wide enough. You can always place a hand on the floor behind you. Close, relax, close, relax, close, relax. And you can slow it down a little bit if you choose. Close, make it smoother, relax, close, relax, close, relax. Then going forward, both sides at the same time. Close, you can rotate the legs in or out as you need to. Relax, close, relax, close, relax. And notice from the side, as I bend forward, I'm trying to keep my spine long. So what I'd suggest, work at keeping your spine long and then try to close your hip creases and then relax. And just one final note, if you're doing bound angle and you wanted to bend forwards, but you have difficulty bending forwards and you like the opening the hip crease action, what you could do is have your back against the wall, hands on the wall, open the hip creases, and then use your hands gently push yourself forward. And then relax. Open the hip creases, try to keep them open. Use your hands, push your torso forward. Keep your spine long. Relax, open your hip creases. Use your hands to push forward and then relax. Or if you wanted to, if you haven't got a wall handy, you could, you won't be able to get quite as deep, but you can just have your hands on the floor behind you. Open the hip creases, lengthen the spine, then use your hands like so. Another option is if you have something in front of you that you can grab onto that is sturdy, that won't move. You can also grab, if you're at the gym and there's a pole or something in front of you, you can also grab onto that. But anyway, that's it for this video. So that's opening and closing the hip creases using bound angle and variations of wide leg seated forward bend. Check the description box for more information on opening and closing the hip creases. Hopefully this was helpful. If not, sorry to have wasted your time. Thank you very much for watching. Namaste.